Hello, folks. We're getting set up here for playoff game number 3, Stillwater versus White Bear Lake from the Rec Center North Rink in Stillwater. Zamboni's on the ice. Probably have 7 or 8 minutes before the kids come out for warm-ups. Camera set up. We're just waiting for this thing to get going. All right, folks, the refs are setting the nets. Stillwater is going to be wearing white jerseys. It looks like they're getting lined up. All right, here comes your Stillwater Ponies. So Stillwater in white jerseys, White Bear Lake in black with orange stripes. One minute left in warm-ups. That's the buzzer for the end of warm-ups. folks, we are getting ready to face off here in the third playoff game for Stillwater. We've got Stillwater versus White Bear Lake. Starting for Stillwater, we've got goalie Logan in net tonight. We've got Declan O'Shea and Cash Junker starting at D. Gus Bonin at right wing. Jacob Kep center. And Brendan Docks at left wing. White Bear Lake controls off the faceoff, brings it into the zone, dumps it behind the net. Docks along the far boards, battling for the puck. Clearing attempt held in by White Bear Lake. Shot on goal, save, Logan, stick save. Puck's loose on behind the net. Cash Junker fires it around the boards and clears the zone. No icing. Cash Junker with the puck at center ice. He turns, skates it into the zone. Trying to weave his way towards the net and had the puck knocked off his stick. White Bear Lake sends it the length of the ice, but icing is waved off. Cash Junker to retrieve the puck, takes it behind the net. He turns. Still battling for the puck. Braden Smith helping out. Centering pass intercepted by O'Shea. He'll skate it out of the zone. He takes a shot on net. That's wide. Parker Taylor and Braden Smith forechecking in the corner. White Bear Lake controls, takes it behind their own net. Boxland, shot from the point. Stick save. Rebound loose. Shot Parker Taylor. Save. Puck comes around to the near boards. Boxland pinches. He's able to hold it in. Braden Smith and Keegan Smith battling for the puck. Keegan Smith finally dumps it behind the net. Parker Taylor on the forecheck. Dylan Johnson pinches. White Bear Lake controls. They make a long pass. And we have an icing here.
All right, let's go, Ponies.
Icing on White Bear Lake. 13:01 left to go in the first period. Score 0-0. White Bear Lake controls off the face-off. They're able to clear the zone. Boxland dumps it right back in. Linnell on the forecheck on the near boards. Louis Junker on the far boards. White Bear Lake's able to clear. Dylan Johnson dumps it in, but intercepted by White Bear Lake. They flip it high out of the zone. Boxland retrieves, passes it up the boards to Linnell. Linnell works his way around one defenseman. He takes a shot that's deflected into the far corner. Louis Junker tried to send it deep. White Bear Lake is able to clear. Koffenberg with the puck at center ice. He sends it back into the zone for an offsides on Stillwater. Cash Junker with the puck off the faceoff now. He sends it to the far boards. Pass intended for Docks. Docks on the forecheck. White Bear Lake chips it up the boards. And out of the zone. Bonin tries to intercept. White Bear Lake comes in. They've got a chance here. 3-on-1. Shot. Save. Logan. Koffenberg battling for the puck in the corner. Docks and Bonin there as well. Puck's in their skates. Kemp helping out now as well. Cash Junker tries to clear, but White Bear Lake sends it behind the net. Koffenberg with the puck. He sends it up the boards for Docks. Docks not able to clear. Kemp picks it up. He skates it out of the zone. Into the offensive zone. He goes around one defenseman. Shot from the short side. Save. White Bear Lake controls behind their net. Puck comes back to Cash Junker, shot from the point. And we've got a save and covered by White Bear Lake. Braden Smith takes a face-off. Parker Taylor in the far corner. Keegan Smith sends it back to the point for Voxland. Voxland shot from the point. Tip. Puck's loose in front. Parker Taylor with a couple of chances there, but White Bear Lake is able to hang on to that one and covers it. We'll have another face-off in the offensive zone. Puck goes through the crease off the face-off. White Bear Lake controls. Foxland's able to hold it in, sends it across the blue line, but White Bear Lake intercepts. They clear the zone. O'Shea with the puck now at center ice. He tries to send it deep. White Bear Lake controls at the bottom of the face-off circle. Taylor forechecking along the far boards. Braden Smith helping out. White Bear Lake sends it around to the near corner. White Bear Lake is able to clear. O'Shea intercepts the puck. He dumps it back into White Bear Lake zone. Taylor on the forecheck. White Bear Lake sends it up the boards. Taylor with the puck. He tried to make a move. Shot on net. Saved by White Bear Lake. Sonic takes a face-off. White Bear Lake controls behind the net. Sonic on the forecheck. White Bear Lake sends it up the boards. Louis Junker and Dylan Johnson battling for the puck. Louis Junker tried to take a shot on net. That was intercepted by White Bear Lake. Louis Junker in the corner now. Controls the puck. Centering pass. Intercepted by White Bear Lake. Louis Junker still controls the puck in the corner. Sonic helping out. Dylan Johnson not quite able to hold it in the zone. White Bear Lake comes back. Centering pass through the crease. Nobody's there. White Bear Lake holds it in the zone. Shot from the point, wide of the net. Dylan Johnson with the puck in the far corner. He sends it up the boards for Louis Junker. Not able to clear. Shot from the point, deflected off of Louis Junker behind the net. Koffenberg sends it up the boards for Weston Linnell. That clears the zone. Weston Linnell on the forecheck. White Bear Lake sends it around to the far corner. Doc's helping out. Doc's with the puck now. He's trying to work his way to the net. Centering pass. Nobody there. Intercepted by White Bear Lake. Cash Junker with a poke check to disrupt the play. Doc's brings it right back into the zone. Dumps it into the corner. And chases it down. Kep now helping out. Long breakout pass intercepted by Linnell. He sends it back in the zone for an offsides on Stillwater. Stillwater players weren't quite out of the zone when the puck went back in, so we've got offsides on Stillwater. 8:27 left to go in the first period. Score 0-0. Kep takes the face-off back to Cash Junker. Up the boards for Bonin. Just off his stick, though. Bonin with the puck at the blue line, trying to work his way in. He gets taken down. White Bear Lake's able to clear. Cash Junker challenging. White Bear Lake sends it in behind the net. O'Shea in the far corner sends it up the boards for Doc's. Doc's trying to chip it out of the zone. He does. White Bear Lake controls that neutral zone. White Bear Lake sends it in deep into the near corner. Bonin and Cash Junker are working, battling for the puck. Kept helping out. White Bear Lake controls in the corner, though. They make a move. Shot from the near side. Saved by Logan. Puck still loose on the goal line. O'Shea chips it up the boards for Bonin. Not quite out yet, though. Kept finally able to clear the puck. And puck comes out of play. White Bear Lake was trying to dump it deep, and it deflected off a Stillwater player's stick and up and over the boards and out of play. So we'll have a face-off here at center ice. Braden Smith controls off the faceoff. He skates it into the zone. He goes around one defenseman, takes a shot high to the near board, or far boards. Dylan Johnson tried to take a shot on net that was intercepted. Dylan Johnson sends it back in deep behind the White Bear Lake goal. Braden Smith on the forecheck. Dylan Johnson pinches. Parker Taylor in the far corner. His centering pass was deflected by a White Bear Lake player. White Bear Lake is able to clear the zone, and we've got a chance here. Dylan Johnson with the poke check to break up that play. Voxland sends it up to boards intended for Braden Smith. White Bear Lake was able to intercept that. Parker Taylor was able to clear the zone. White Bear Lake sends it right back in. Voxland challenging on the near boards. Braden Smith is able to clear. He skates it through the neutral zone. He takes a shot. Pad save by the goalie. White Bear Lake controls. They give him a long pass. And we've got Koffenberg was able to clear, and White Bear Lake brought it back in for an offsides. 6:02 left to go in the first period. Score is 0-0. Sonic wins the faceoff back to Koffenberg. Over to Cash Junker. Cash Junker skates it out of the zone. Skates it into the offensive zone around the defenseman. Centering pass intended for Louis Junker. Just off his stick, though. He couldn't get it. Louis Junker sends it back in to the near corner. Weston Linnell on the forecheck. Koffenberg shot from the point. Hits Sonic in the back of the head. White Bear Lake skates it into the offense, into Stillwater zone. Takes a shot wide on. Wide of the net. Cash Junker controls the puck. Pass up to Linnell. Puck's loose in front of the net. White Bear Lake. Puck still loose. Centering pass. Shot was wide of the net. Still loose. Shot wide. Linnell battling. All right, Koffenberg with the puck. He sends it up the boards. White Bear Lake holds. Centering pass. Intercepted by Cash Junker. He's finally able to clear the zone. White Bear Lake sends it back in. Louis Junker with the puck. He sends it cross ice, intended for Linnell. Kep takes a shot. That's intercepted by a White Bear Lake player. White Bear Lake brings it back to the neutral zone. Shot wide of the net. Centering pass. Centering pass went off of the back of Logan, and it almost went in, but Stillwater was able to clear that. White Bear Lake brings it right back in, though. Foxland challenging behind the net. Centering pass, nobody there. White Bear Lake holds it in. Shot from the point. Deflected wide by O'Shea. O'Shea passes it up the boards. Not out. Shot from the point. Wide of the net. Bonin battling along the near boards. He is able to clear the puck. Docks with the puck at center ice. He sends it deep into the corner, but we've got offsides on Stillwater. 3:32 left to go in the first period. Score is 0-0. White Bear Lake controls off the faceoff. Docks on the forecheck. Pass intercepted by Gus Bonin. Kep took it into the zone. Bonin with a shot. Save. And covered by White Bear Lake. Braden Smith wins a face-off. Cash Junker shot deflected by White Bear Lake player Keegan Smith with a shot just wide of the net. He had that upper right corner wide open, but just a couple inches off the side of the net. Keegan Smith on the forecheck. White Bear Lake is able to clear. Dylan Johnson racing for the puck. He turns, passes up to Braden Smith. Braden Smith through center ice. He tried to make a move. Puck knocked off his stick. Keegan Smith dumps it deep behind the net. Dylan Johnson pinching. Taylor dumps it back deep. White Bear Lake sends it off the glass, but Dylan Johnson's able to hold. Centering pass over to Keegan Smith. Backhand shot wide of the net. Centering pass to Cash Junker. Shot. Save. Taylor passes it back to Cash Junker. White Bear Lake is able to clear. Dylan Johnson back to retrieve the puck. Pass to Keegan Smith. He chips it up just off the stick of Braden Smith, though. Parker Taylor with the puck. He sends it to the neutral zone, but White Bear Lake intercepts, and they come right back in. Shot wide of the net. Linnell back to retrieve the puck. Has it knocked off his stick. O'Shea sends it up to boards for Louis Junker. White Bear Lake sends it back in. Centering pass intercepted by Cash. Backhand shot, save, Logan. Linnell with the puck in the near corner. He's trying to weave his way through traffic. Braden Smith with the puck now. He's able to skate it out of the zone, through the neutral zone, into the offensive zone. He takes a shot, glove save, puck's loose. Koffenberg pinches, backhand shot, deflected off a White Bear Lake skate to the near boards. Linnell forechecking on the near boards, battling for the puck. Sonic has the puck. He skates it through the center ice. Shot deflected by a White Bear Lake player. Sonic on the forecheck in the far corner. Louis Junker shot. Didn't quite make it to the net. White Bear Lake is able to skate it out of the zone. 42 seconds left to go in the period. Centering pass. White Bear Lake centering pass went off a Sonic skate and almost went towards the goal. Louis Junker finally able to clear the puck. He skates in an offensive zone, tries to take a shot, deflected. 23 seconds left to go in the period. O'Shea pinches, shot towards the net. Went wide. Sonic forechecking on the near boards. Koffenberg is able to hold it in. He sends it back deep behind the net. 5 seconds left to go in the period. Sonic on the forecheck. White Bear Lake sends it into their own bench with 1.7 seconds left to go in the period. Score is tied, 0-0. Kep takes the face-off, sends it behind the net, and that's the end of the period. Score is tied, 0-0 after one period. All right, starting the second period. Logan is back in goal. Dylan Johnson, Austin Boxlin on deep. Brendan Knox at left wing. Jacob Kemp at center. And Gus Bonin at right wing. Centering pass for Gus Bonin off his stick into the far corner. Kemp sends it back deep. Bonin battling for the puck. Puck comes around to the near boards. Johnson pinches. Shot towards the net. Rebounds loose. Gus Bonin. Shot. Score. Dylan Johnson to Gus Bonin for the goal. Stillwater takes the lead. 1-0. 14:36 left to go in the second period. White Bear Lake controls off the faceoff. They bring it into the zone. They send it back to their point. Shot deflected off a stick and a high stick. We've got a high sticking on White Bear Lake. Faceoff will come all the way down. Parker Taylor batting for the puck off the faceoff. He's trying to center it to Keegan Smith. Taylor with the puck still. He sends it back to Cash Junker at the point. Shot from the point. In traffic. Didn't quite make it to the net. White Bear Lake's able to clear the zone. They come in. Koffenberg with the poke check. Shot on. Oh! White Bear Lake with a shot on goal. Logan made the save. The ref thought that he had it covered, but the rebound came out. But the ref did blow the whistle, so we will have a face-off in the Stillwater defensive zone. The White Bear Lake fans are not happy about that. But it was a quick whistle by the ref, and that stopped the play. Braden Smith with the puck in the near corner. He sends it around to Keegan Smith. Keegan Smith up ice. No icing. Taylor retrieves the puck in the near corner. He works his way behind the net, tries to do a wraparound. Has it knocked off his stick. Keegan Smith along the far board sends it back behind the net for Braden Smith. Braden Smith tried to pass it up to Cash Junker, but White Bear Lake was able to intercept, and they skated out of the zone. Shot wide of the net. Chipped up the boards, intercepted by White Bear Lake. Shot, save Logan. Cash Junker sends it high off the glass and out of the zone. Braden Smith with a poke check. Disrupts the play. He's got a chance on that. Goal! Braden Smith with a breakaway goal. I don't think the camera kept up with that one, but Braden Smith was able to knock the puck off of the White Bear Lake defenseman's stick and chase that puck down. He sent it top shelf to make it 2-0 Stillwater. Weston Linnell with the puck. He tries to work it in to the zone, gets it knocked off his stick. Sonic with the puck at center ice. He sends it deep into the corner. Louis Junker chasing it down. O'Shea pinches. O'Shea is still battling for the puck on the near board. Shot on net. Stick save. Goes to the far boards. Louis Junker on the forecheck. Linnell trying to disrupt the play. O'Shea pinches. Shot from the point. Intercepted by a White Bear Lake player. White Bear Lake's able to skate it out of the zone. They send it deep into the Stillwater zone. O'Shea chips it up for Louis Junker. Louis Junker is able to battle off a White Bear Lake player and get it out of the zone. He takes a shot on goal, glove save, and held on to by White Bear Lake. Kep wins the face-off. Back to Cash Junker. His shot deflected off White Bear Lake player. Voxland pinching, trying to send it deep into the corner for Bonin. Docks with the puck along the near side. Centering pass for Kep. Shot. Good chance for Stillwater there. Centering pass from Docks to Kep. Kep's shot was deflected. Almost went 5-hole on the White Bear Lake goalie, but he was able to close up that area and cover the puck. Kep wins the faceoff. Back to Cash Junker. Cash Junker over to Voxland. Voxland dumps it into the corner for Bonin. Just off his stick. White Bear Lake. Kep on the forecheck. Cash Junker trying to hold it in. Kep now with the puck. He sends it towards the net, but that's deflected wide. Voxland is able to hold it in. Kep with the puck. He tried to take a shot. Deflected. And we got Docks in the near corner. Tried to send it back to Cash Junker, but that was off his stick. We've got a race for the puck. Voxland and a White Bear Lake player. Their shot wide of the net. Cash Junker recovered. He's in the far corner now, battling for the puck. Sends it up the boards for Bonin. Bonin trying to chip it out of the zone. Still battling for the puck. Bonin is able to clear the zone. His pass intended for Bonin. And we've got an icing. We've got icing on Stillwater. White Bear Lake wins a face-off. Their shot deflected. Dylan Johnson challenging on the near boards in the corner. Braden Smith battling in the far corner. White Bear Lake controls, though. Koffenberg's able to disrupt the play there. Puck's over to Parker Taylor. He's able to skate it out of the zone. Passes it up to Keegan Smith. Keegan Smith around the defenseman. He takes a shot on net. Stick save. Puck's loose in the crease. White Bear Lake retrieves it. And they're able to clear the zone. Dylan Johnson with a nice poke check. Dylan Johnson tried to dump it deep, but that was deflected off a player in the neutral zone. Braden Smith now skating it through the neutral zone into the offensive zone, trying to weave his way through the White Bear Lake players. Centering pass deflected off the goalie's stick and out of the zone. Koffenberg back to retrieve the puck. 9:48 left to go in the second period. Pass comes up to Parker Taylor. He makes a move around one defenseman. His centering pass deflected by the White Bear Lake defenseman. And White Bear Lake is able to clear the zone. Dylan Johnson disrupts the White Bear Lake attack. And Koffenberg with the puck now behind the net. He sends it up the boards and out of the zone. Braden Smith on the forecheck. Dylan Johnson with the puck. White Bear Lake controls and they skate it into the zone. Koffenberg challenges. Dylan Johnson with the puck. He circles behind the net, passes it around the boards for Braden Smith. Braden Smith is able to clear, but White Bear Lake intercepts it at the red line and brings it right back in. They dump it around the boards to the far corner. Linnell along the far boards trying to challenge. Koffenberg is able to clear. White Bear Lake controls. They bring it into the zone. Shot on net. Saved by Logan. Koffenberg sends it around the boards. Not out. Shot. And with Dylan Johnson sends it the length of the ice for icing on Stillwater. 8:27 left to go in the second period. Stillwater leads 2-0. Sonic wins a face-off. Back to Cash Junker. He sends it up the boards for Weston Linnell and out of the zone. Weston Linnell skates it through the neutral zone. Passes it to Louis Junker. Louis Junker shot wide of the net. Linnell and Cash Junker are able to hold it in. They send it back towards the net into the near corner. Louis Junker on the forecheck. Sonic helping out now. Up the near boards. O'Shea is able to hold it in. He dumps it back into the corner. Linnell on the forecheck. White Bear Lake turns and sends it around to the near boards again. They are able to clear the puck. Cash Junker to retrieve it in the neutral zone. He passes it up to Louis Junker, intercepted by White Bear Lake. O'Shea able to back check. Louis Junker gets the puck back. Pass over to Weston Linnell. He'll skate it into the zone. Weston Linnell around one defenseman. He takes a shot off the back of the goalie and in. Weston Linnell skated around the defenseman, took a shot from a low angle, and it looked like it actually hit the back of the goalie's left shoulder and bounced into the net to make it 3-0 Stillwater. 7:22 left to go in the second period. We also have a goalie change for Stillwater. Rye is in net now. Kemp takes the face off. Doc's on the forecheck. He has a poke check and a chance here. He was charging towards the net, but had the puck knocked off his stick. Boxland with a slap shot from the point. Hits a White Bear Lake defenseman. Kept along the far boards. Doc's forechecking. Dylan Johnson pinches. He's able to hold it in. Doc's and kept battling for the puck. White Bear Lake is able to clear the zone. Bonin on the back check, intercepts the puck. He turns and skates it into the zone. He takes it deep into the corner. Centering pass intended for Docs. Hit his stick, but went wide of the net. Kept with the puck, sends it down into the corner for Docs. Docs and kept battling in the far corner. Puck comes around to the near corner. Johnson pinches. He sends it back in deep. Bonin behind the net to retrieve it. Centering pass for Kep. Shot. Save. Good try for Stillwater there. Centering pass from Bonin to Kep. His backhand shot was saved by the White Bear Lake goalie, though. Boxland to retrieve the puck in the far corner. Kept trying to clear it, but White Bear Lake's able to hold it in. Shot deflected wide of the net. Keegan Smith battling for the puck along the far boards. Kept helping out. Boxland sends it high up off the boards and down the ice. Icing is waved off, though. Keegan Smith on the forecheck here. White Bear Lake sends it up the near boards. Johnson pinches. He's able to hold it in. Centering pass over to Taylor. Shot hits the post. Taylor with a chance there. The puck hit the post and bounced underneath the goalie's pad. He was able to control that. And we have a whistle and a face-off in the offensive zone for Stillwater. Braden Smith wins the face-off over to Taylor. Back to Cash Junker. Shot deflected into the far corner. Keegan Smith forechecking. White Bear Lake controls. They're able to pass it across ice and out of the zone. They dump it deep behind the Stillwater zone. Koffenberg back to retrieve the puck in the far corner. He tried to send it around the centering pass, went all the way through the crease. Nobody there and out of the zone. Keegan Smith pressuring. White Bear Lake sends it back in for an offsides call. .455 left to go in the second period here. Stillwater leads 3-0. Braden Smith wins the faceoff. Back to Koffenberg. Koffenberg up to Braden Smith along the far boards. Braden Smith makes it around one defenseman. Backhand shot. Save. And held on to by the White Bear Lake goalie. White Bear Lake controls off the face-off. Keegan Smith on the forecheck, centering pass off the side of the net. Taylor with the puck on the side of the net. He tried to take a shot. Keegan Smith behind the net, centering pass. Puck's loose in the crease. White Bear Lake sends it to the near corner. Braden Smith passes it back to Cash Junker. Shot from the point. Stick save up in the air. Parker Taylor trying to knock that one down on the side of the net. Cash Junker sends it back behind the net into the far corner. Koffenberg pinches. Taylor intercepts it. Shot. Stick save. Deflected to the near boards. Cash Junker not able to hold that one in. Braden Smith controls at the neutral zone, though. He makes the turn, trying to weave his way towards the net. Turns. Taylor passes it back to Koffenberg. Koffenberg back to Cash Junker. Shot wide of the net. Braden Smith retrieves along the far boards. His centering pass went off his skate. White Bear Lake controls. They send it off the side of the net. Taylor with it now. Sends it back to Cash Junker. Cash shot. Save. Puck's loose. White Bear Lake is able to control, though, and they'll skate it out of the zone. Kemp intercepted it at center ice. We have got an interference penalty on Cash Junker, I believe. No, we don't. We have an interference penalty on Weston Linnell. I didn't see the play, but I think that there was probably a body check here along the near boards in the neutral zone. So Stillwater is on the penalty kill for a minute 30. 3:20 left to go in the second period. Stillwater leads 3-0 against White Bear Lake. Off the face-off, Louis Junker races for the puck. He's able to skate it out of the zone. He gets taken down along the near boards. Kemp with the puck now. He skates it into the offensive zone. Louis Junker sends it across ice into the far corner. White Bear Lake clears. No icing, though. O'Shea back to retrieve the puck. O'Shea up to Louis Junker. Louis Junker tried to make a move around one defenseman. Kemp with the puck. He skates it into the zone. Kind of gets bumped. Poke check by the goalie. Sends it back to Voxlin. His shot. Save. White Bear Lake clears. O'Shea with the puck. The intended pass for Louis Junker was intercepted, and White Bear Lake sends it in deep behind the net. Voxlin challenging Kemp with the puck now. He is able to skate it out of the zone. He tried to pass it up to Louis Junker, but it was off his stick. O'Shea dumps it in deep. Cash Junker able to hold it in. He sends a shot on net. Save. White Bear Lake controls behind their own net. Cross ice pass. And shot by White Bear Lake. Blocker saved by Rye. Shot from the point deflected by Stillwater player Cash Junker with the puck. He sends it off the boards, and this will be an icing on Stillwater. Penalty has expired. 1:38 left to go in the second period. Stillwater leads 3-0. Braden Smith controls out the faceoff, takes it behind the net, trying to set it up the boards for Dox, but he is able to skate it out of the zone. He skates it through the neutral zone into the offensive zone. Has it knocked off his stick right to Bonin. Bonin couldn't quite get a shot off, though. White Bear Lake is able to skate it out of the zone. We've got Cash Junker now skating it in. He weaved his way through the defenseman. He had a backhand shot on goal, but that was saved and covered by the White Bear Lake goalie. Puck's along the near boards. Dox is battling for it. Bonin's helping out. Bonin with the puck. Centering pass over to Dox. Comes through the crease. Cash Junker slap shot. Puck's up in the air. And I think we've got a high sticking call on Stillwater. So we'll have a face-off all the way down. Cash Junker's shot. It was a stick save by the goalie, but that puck went straight up after that. And all the Stillwater players' sticks were up in the air, swinging at the puck. So not sure exactly which one hit the puck, but we have a high sticking call on Stillwater. 58 seconds left to go in the second period. White Bear Lake with a shot right off the face-off. Rye is able to cover that. All right, Dylan Johnson with the puck off the face-off. He passes it up to Brendan Dox. Dox clears the zone. We will have an icing on Stillwater. .46 seconds left to go in the second period. White Bear Lake sends it into the far corner. Koffenberg was battling for it. Keegan Smith blocked the shot from the point. He skates it into the zone, battling for it, trying to dump it deep. Taylor helping out now in the far corner. Taylor with the puck behind the net. He's got a little bit of time. He makes a turn, looking for a centering pass. But then the White Bear Lake players got to him. Keegan Smith, centering pass intended for Kep, intercepted by White Bear Lake. And that is the buzzer for the end of the second period. We will have a 10-minute intermission here while they zamboni the ice. Stillwater leads 3-0 against White Bear Lake. Coming to you live from the Rec Center North Rink in Stillwater. All right, folks, the Zamboni. That Zamboni is just pulling off the ice. The refs are getting the net set. Skaters should be coming out in another minute. And they will have 1 minute to stretch out before we start the third period. All right, here come your Stillwater ponies. So the kids will have about 40 seconds left to stretch out before we start the third period. Stillwater leads 3-0 against White Bear Lake. Shots on goal are 24 for Stillwater and 13 for White Bear Lake. All right, starting the third period for Stillwater, we've got Ryan goal. Cash Junker and Declan O'Shea at defense. Weston Linnell at right wing. Arlo Sonic center. And Louis Junker at left wing. White Bear Lake controls off the face-off. They bring it in. Shot deflected by Linnell. Louis Junker is able to clear the puck. White Bear Lake sends it right back in. O'Shea back to retrieve the puck behind the net. He passes it up the boards for Linnell. O'Shea up to Linnell. They're able to clear the zone. Linnell gets tied up along the near boards. Back to Cash Junker. But White Bear Lake is able to clear the zone. No icing on this. Cash Junker back to retrieve the puck. He sends it up the boards for Louis Junker. White Bear Lake holds. O'Shea with the puck. Passes it back up to pass intended for Louis Junker off his stick. White Bear Lake sends it back in. Cash Junker sends it across ice to Louis Junker. Louis Junker skates it into the zone. His shot just barely made it to the net. He didn't quite get all of it on there. Centering pass from Linnell to Louis Junker. And save and covered. A little bit of a scuffle in front of the net. But then we had a centering pass there from Linnell to Louis Junker. Louis Junker with a good scoring chance in front of the net, but the White Bear Lake goalie is able to cover that. Braden Smith taking the face-off. White Bear Lake controls behind their net. Parker Taylor in the far corner on the forecheck. White Bear Lake sends it around to the near corner. Koffenberg pinches. He's able to hold it in and sends it back into the corner. Keegan Smith on the forecheck there. Braden Smith disrupts the play. Koffenberg sends it up the boards for Keegan Smith, trying to get it deep, but White Bear Lake is able to clear again. Koffenberg sends it deep into the zone, but this will be an icing on Stillwater. Braden Smith takes a face-off right into the crease. Rye with the save. Dylan Johnson controls the puck. He sends it around to the near boards for Keegan Smith. Keegan Smith is able to clear the zone, but White Bear Lake sends it right back in for an offsides. Kemp wins the face-off over to Bonin, but White Bear Lake controls and sends it in. O'Shea with the puck. He's able to clear, try to bounce it off the boards for Brendan Docks. White Bear Lake sends it back in, though. O'Shea with the puck. He sends it behind the net around the boards for Voxlin. Voxlin chips it up for Bonin. Bonin trying to get it out. White Bear Lake holds. Voxlin still battling for it, trying to clear the puck in his skates. White Bear Lake controls. They turn, shot, save. Rebound was loose. Docks was able to clear the puck away from the crease. Bonin finally able to clear the puck out of the zone. White Bear Lake sends it right back in, though. Voxlin sends it up the boards again to Bonin. Kep now lost the puck in the neutral zone. O'Shea trying to dump it deep. White Bear Lake turns and sends it back. Stillwater dumps it in. White Bear Lake controls, though. They send it up the boards. O'Shea pinches. Kemp with the puck. Came off his stick, though. Voxlin trying to pinch. White Bear Lake clears the zone. Bonin retrieves the puck. Turns. Backhand pass intercepted by White Bear Lake. They send it in deep. Puck's behind the net. O'Shea retrieves it. Tried to clear. Intercepted by White Bear Lake. They send it behind the net for Voxlin. Voxlin up the boards to Bonin. White Bear Lake holds, though. They send it back in to the near corner. Voxlin battling for the puck now. Kep helping out. Bonin goes down to retrieve the puck. His clearing attempt held in by White Bear Lake. Voxlin finally able to clear the puck. But this will be an icing on Stillwater. Sonic wins the faceoff over to Koffenberg. Koffenberg sends it behind the net for Cash Junker. Cash Junker up the boards to Louis Junker. Louis Junker is able to skate it out of the zone, tries to make a move around one defenseman. He is chasing the puck down into the far corner. He loses an edge and goes down. Sonic on the forecheck, disrupts the play. Linnell with the puck now. He's trying to make a move around the far boards. Cash Junker took a shot wide of the net. Louis Junker with the puck now, trying to turn. Sonic with the puck behind the goal line. Centering pass intended for Linnell, went through the crease. Sonic battling for the puck. He passes it back to Cash Junker. Cash Junker's shot hits Linnell in the back and deflected towards the near boards. White Bear Lake sends it the length of the ice. This will be an icing call on White Bear Lake. .10:18 left to go in the third period. Stillwater leads 3-0. Braden Smith wins the faceoff back to Koffenberg. Koffenberg takes a shot, deflected off the White Bear Lake defenseman skate and into the goal. Koffenberg with a shot right off the faceoff. So Braden Smith to Koffenberg. Koffenberg's shot was deflected off of the White Bear Lake defenseman's skate. The goalie was sliding to his right side, and the puck was deflected into the right side of the net. So Stillwater takes the lead 4-0. 10-13 left to go in the third period. White Bear Lake dumps it in deep. Dylan Johnson back to retrieve the puck in the near corner. Keegan Smith helping out. White Bear Lake is able to control. Dylan Johnson still pressuring. Hit to the far boards for Taylor. Taylor's able to skate it out of the zone. His centering pass intended for Keegan Smith. Just off his stick though, and White Bear Lake brings it back in. They dump it deep behind the net. O'Shea retrieves the puck. Intercepted by White Bear Lake. Centering pass. Shot. Saved by Rye. Braden Smith with the puck. He will skate it out of the zone. Skates it into the offensive zone. He weaves his way. Shot. Blocker save. And the puck went out of play. Braden Smith was able to weave his way through the defenseman there and take a shot. Blocker save was deflected high up into the netting. And we'll have a face-off in the offensive zone. White Bear Lake controls off the face-off. Bonin on the forecheck. Docks now behind the net, battling for the puck with Bonin. Bonin centering pass, intercepted by White Bear Lake. Foxland pinches his shot, stopped by a White Bear Lake player. White Bear Lake clears. Cash Junker back to retrieve the puck. He's got one White Bear Lake player pressuring. He goes behind the net. Off the boards for Bonin. Bonin's able to chip it out of the net, out of the zone, but loses control of the puck. And White Bear Lake turns and comes right back. White Bear Lake's able to dump it deep behind the net. Cash Junker challenging. Doc sends it around the boards and clears the zone. Bonin pressuring in the neutral zone, kept on the near boards. White Bear Lake sends it back in deep to the far, around the boards to the far side. Doc's not quite able to clear the puck. Cash Junker lost control of the puck. Bonin on the near boards, battling for the puck now. Shot intercepted by Kep. Kep was able to chip it out of the zone. White Bear Lake still controls though. They send it deep. Cash Junker back to retrieve the puck again. He will turn and skate this one out of the zone into the offensive zone. Around the defenseman, takes a shot, save into the near corner. White Bear Lake controls. They're skating it out. Centering pass intercepted by Louis Junker, but he ran into a couple of players there. White Bear Lake steals it. They come back in. Shot, glove save by Rye. And he hangs on to that for a face-off in the defensive zone for Stillwater. 7:29 left to go in the third period. Stillwater leads 4-0. Sonic takes the face-off. Dylan Johnson retrieves the puck. He stops behind the net, turns. Pass hit the ref's skate, and White Bear Lake sends it to the near boards. Koffenberg battling for the puck. Sonic helping out, but Koffenberg controls. He takes it behind the net. And it looks like he's going to skate it out of the zone. Tries to dump it deep and gets taken down. Louis Junker with the puck now. Back to Koffenberg. He skates the blue line. Shot on net. Weston Linnell tried to tip it. Centering pass. Went through the crease and all the way out of the zone. Dylan Johnson back to retrieve the puck. Dylan Johnson up to Koffenberg. Koffenberg with a shot, glove save. Knocked down on the near side. White Bear Lake controls. They send it up the far boards. Dylan Johnson controls now. They clear the zone. Dylan Johnson at the red line. He turns and sends it up the boards to Louis Junker. Louis Junker skates it into the zone. Gets taken down, trying to take a shot. Braden Smith on the forecheck, trying to disrupt the play. Boxland sends it up the boards for Linnell. Linnell skates it into the zone, trying to make a move, loses control of the puck. White Bear Lake not able to clear yet. Voxland held it in temporarily, but White Bear Lake is able to clear now. And we've got a race for the puck. White Bear Lake with a chance. O'Shea with the back check was able to disrupt the play. Braden Smith with the puck at center ice now. He loses control of the puck and goes down. White Bear Lake. Keegan Smith intercepted a pass, shot, blocker, save, puck's loose on the side of the net. Taylor with it. He circled to behind the net. Keegan Smith battling for the puck. White Bear Lake controls, and they're skated out of the zone. Boxland challenging in the corner. White Bear Lake controls behind the net. Shot from puck's loose through the crease. Shot saved by Rye and covered. So on that previous play, Keegan Smith came off the bench. White Bear Lake tried to flip it out of the zone. Keegan Smith was able to bat it down out of the air and skated into the zone and had a nice chance. Took a nice shot, but was saved by the White Bear Lake goalie. We've got Kep on the faceoff. He controls right away. Back to Koffenberg. Koffenberg takes it behind the net. He sends it around the boards for Dox. And that clears the zone. Dox is able to skate it through the neutral zone into the offensive zone. He takes a shot. And I don't know where the puck is. It was loose on the side of the net. I couldn't see it. Puck is still loose on the side of the net. Clearing attempt held in by Cash Junker. Shot from the point. Blocker save. White Bear Lake controls behind the net. They make a long cross-ice pass. Shot deflected by Cash Junker wide of the net. Cash Junker skates it out of the zone. Loses control of it at the blue line, but Bonin picks it up. Bonin with a shot. Stick save, deflected into the far corner. Dox on the forecheck. Cash Junker with a backhand shot from the point. Save and covered by the White Bear Lake goalie. 4:02 left to go in the third period. Stillwater leads 4-0. Sonic off the face-off. Louis Junker tried to get a shot, but that was deflected. White Bear Lake sends it around to the near boards. Dylan Johnson pinches, holds it in. Linnell on the forecheck, battling for the puck. Sonic helping out as well along the near boards. Linnell still battling for the puck. Goes around to the far corner. Louis Junker controlled. He was trying to turn, had it knocked off his stick. O'Shea with the puck. Backhand shot. Save. The puck's loose on the side of the net. We've got Louis Junker battling for it. And Wesson Linnell. Sonic with the puck. Backhand shot on the near side of the net. Comes back to Dylan Johnson. His shot goes wide into the corner. Sonic with a shot at the top of the circle, deflected into the near corner. Linnell with the puck. His centering pass intended for Sonic was intercepted. Linnell. Louis Junker trying to pressure. O'Shea held it in right at the blue line. Linnell with the puck. Passes it up to Louis Junker. Louis Junker with a little backhand shot that goes wide of the net. Sonic on the forecheck. He gets taken down. Louis Junker on the far corner now. 2:45 left to go in the third period. White Bear Lake controls. They skated out of the zone. Cross ice pass. O'Shea disrupts that. He sends it up the boards for Louis Junker. Louis Junker is able to chip it out of the zone. Trying to get it over to Linnell, but intercepted by White Bear Lake. They bring it into the zone. Shot intercepted by O'Shea. He turns, sends it behind the net around the far boards. That pass is intercepted. Dylan Johnson trying to clear. White Bear Lake holds at the line. Shot from the point wide of the net. Louis Junker now is able to chip it out of the zone. Weston Linnell racing for the puck, but it's intercepted by the White Bear Lake players. Braden Smith comes off the bench, and Parker Taylor now. White Bear Lake with a shot that's deflected wide of the net. Braden Smith with the puck. We've got a whistle. Looks like we've got a cross-checking penalty on Weston Linnell. So Stillwater will be on the penalty kill for 1:30. There's only 1 minute, 50 seconds left to go in the game. Stillwater leads 4-0. Puck comes back to the White Bear Lake point. Save and covered by Rye. Braden Smith controls off the face-off behind the net. Koffenberg battling for the puck. Voxlin helping out now in the corner. Chips it up the boards. Parker Taylor trying to clear. That's stuck in the skate of the White Bear Lake player, though. Not quite out. Voxlin with the puck. He sends it. Voxlin sends the puck into the Stillwater bench. So we've got a whistle. 58 seconds left to go in the penalty kill for Stillwater. Voxlin trying to clear the puck. White Bear Lake sends it back deep. Koffenberg battling for the puck behind the net. Koffenberg controls. He's able to clear the zone, but loses control of the puck. White Bear Lake turns and sends it back in. Voxlin with a nice poke check to steal the puck. Voxlin with the puck behind the net, sends it around the boards, intended for Docks. Docks not able to clear the zone, though. Voxlin to Keegan Smith. Keegan Smith now at center ice. He is able to dump it deep. He's forechecking. Docks helping out now. Docks chipped it behind for Keegan Smith. Keegan Smith centering pass over to Cash Junker. Cash shot from the point. Blocker save. Puck's loose behind the net. Docks with a chance. He shoots it wide of the net, though. Docks still forechecking. He goes down along the near boards. Keegan Smith dumps it back deep into the far corner. White Bear Lake controls. 15 seconds left to go in the game, folks. Penalty has expired. Cash Junker with the puck in the near corner now. 5 seconds left. Stillwater clears the zone. Bonin on the forecheck. And that's the end of the game. Stillwater wins 4-0. Stillwater will be advancing to the next round of the playoffs. All right, that's it, folks. I believe we'll be playing on Friday night, but we'll let you know. Thank you for watching.